Hello everyone. With the help of Hashem, we are now starting the second Klal of Ilchot Yisrael Lashon Harah of Sefer Chafetz Chaim. And this Klal, the Chafetz Chaim will, as it says in Hebrew, Yivaer din Lashon Harah be'apei tlat hakol b'chol pratav. This Klal, the Chafetz Chaim will explain the law of apei tlata, or apei tlosa, with all of its details. Apei tlata literally means in the presence of three people, but we will explain that later. Now this klal contains 13 seifim, 13 sections, and we will B'ezrat Hashem go through all of them. Now in the first section, the Chafetz Chaim dispels the common misconception that one may say and repeat Lashon Harah in public. So he emphasizes that speaking that not only is it forbidden, but it's actually worse to speak Lashon Harah in public than speaking in the presence of one person. Okay, so the Chafetz Chaim starts the Klal by saying that it's forbidden to speak Lashon Harah about another person, even if they count as true. Okay, we know that. The Chafetz Chaim repeated that several times. And he says that even if it's in the presence of only one listener. Now, it is certainly forbidden, the Chafetz Chaim continues, to do so in the presence of numerous listeners. Now, what's an example of this? A common example. And an example of this is when one publishes, for example, an article or some social media post that contains Lashon Harah that is read by many people. Since writing is a form of Lashon Harah, the person transgresses according to the amount of people listening. And the Chafetz Chaim says that the more listeners there are, the greater the speaker's transgression, because his fellow, who he is speaking Lashon Harah about, will be demeaned more. And this disgrace of his fellow is now publicized to many, many more people. Now this is the case because the severity of Lashon Harah prohibition corresponds to the degree of harm that the Lashon Harah account inflicts upon the subject. So, for example, if you say very harmful information about someone, you transgress an even greater. Your prohibition is even greater than if you share relatively mild negative information. And the same applies if you say Lashon Harah in front of many people. Your transgression is greater than if you said it in front of only one person. So, what's a good example of this? A practical example. For example, Shimon is absent from a business meeting. Levi mentions in front of the group that they achieved a lot without Shimon's interference. So this implies that he usually tries to dominate the meetings. Levi's sin of Lashon Harah has now been multiplied by the number of people who heard it. And not only does the person transgress even greater by the amount of people listening, the speaker also causes many people to stumble in the sin of listening to Lashon Harah. And this is the sin of lifnei iver. Right? We had discussed previously that when a speaker speaks Lashon Harah, he causes multiple violations of lifnei iver, because he's causing other people to listen and believe Lashon Harah, and that is forbidden. So you're a direct cause of them believing Lashon Harah, and that is also multiplied by the number of people listening. And as the Chafetz Chaim continues, Askamat kol poskim, this is the consensus of all the poskim. Thank you very much for listening. We'll continue tomorrow.